Welcome to the HCD Podcast Mindset, your ultimate destination for unraveling the mysteries of behavioral science, neuromarketing, and consumer research. I'm your host, Michelle Niedziela, and I couldn't be more excited to guide you through today's conversation filled with insights to ignite your curiosity and enrich your understanding. In this episode, we're joined by the illustrious Rais, a visionary force in business and brand transformation. With a background steeped in the industrial and brand design, Van has left his mark on renowned organizations from GE Healthcare to Starbucks. Today, we delve into this fascinating world of behavioral sciences in design, uncovering the secrets behind Van's innovative methodologies and groundbreaking insights. But before we plunge into our discussion, a quick call to action. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our podcast to stay updated on all our thought provoking episodes. Also, be sure to explore our website at www.hcdi.net for a wealth of additional resources, including white papers, conference presentations, and more. Now, whether you're commuting, working out, or simply unwinding, let's embark on another curious conversation right here on HCD's Mindset. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the HCD Research Mindset podcast recording. And I am feeling very happy to be here with my good friend, Van Rais. We met, I guess, sometime last year, I believe. So those of you that don't know, I am part of the executive board of what used to be called Action Design Network and is now called Bessie. And we're going to be talking a bit about that sort of transition to a new name and a new image. But the focus of the organization is being a nonprofit resource and networking opportunity for people that are practitioners of behavioral science. And I met Van through the committee because we've sort of been working towards revamping what was ADN into this new entity, Bessie. And it's a really interesting process that I think touches on a lot of subjects that we're going to be talking about today. But Van, can you maybe tell us a little bit about yourself? Who are you? What is it that you do?
So, hey, really good to, well, thank you for inviting me. Good
Yeah,
to meet you again.
I'm excited to have you here.
Yeah, so this is going to be fun. We spoke number of times about few things in the process of reconstructing the action design or constructing the Bessie. So let's just continue.
Yes.
So I'm German Croatian background. I live in Canada, United States. I'm dual citizen again. I'm all over the place.
Where are you
And
right now?
I am right now just traveling, visiting family in Croatia and planning moving to Berlin soon. And then who knows what's next. But I'm all been working and living and working this way for quite some times. I have my own consultancy, Hello Better, as you know, and that's what we do. We are like a really free consultants. We work on remotely. My background is really in industrial design, which is really probably shocking to everybody. I started in behavior in industrial design and moved into the branding. And then really grow to the point when I got hired as a senior, or almost kind of senior medium level, in Interbrand, which is at that point of time, that was like, wow, that was almost 20 years ago. It was a leading branding agency, so I done everything. My first project I was working on at Interbrand was rebranding of AT&T. Can you imagine that? It's
Oh,
like
I know, just a small thing, right? No, just kidding.
tiny thing. It
That's
completely
huge.
freaked me out.
Yeah, when you have this, I mean, a company that is so everybody knows what it is, and you're supposed to come in and like change everything, right? And
Yeah.
speak to consumers that have been working with that company forever. That's really interesting. So what is industrial design? How would you define that?
Well, so industrial design. So this is I'm going to start what we actually agreed to talk about is like how is that related to how did I get interested in
Yeah.
behavioral science, really?
How did you become
So
you? What's your origin story?
But that, I was being very, very interested since little boys, like I've been interested in car designs, like
Mm.
engineering and design, aesthetic and forms, and like why people do what they do and how you cars drive, why we driving a car, and all those different things that surround the car. It's nothing else than a brand. Now I know the brand and how we relate to the objects and the brands. But what's really attracts me about industrial design is like a designing a cars, designing the object that surround
Mm.
us, designing the furniture, designing the world and environment that we are living in.
Yeah.
So there's one particular thing that's really fascinating about that we taking it for granted very, very, very much, and
Okay.
that is the human scale. That
Mm.
this world, including the spaceships and the ships and the buildings and the floor levels and how buildings are tall and the cup of coffee, and it's all like how these glasses are designed is like our scale, scale of our human body. So that is a starting point of industrial design comparing to many other version of design. Some don't consider uh, human scale, human mentality, cultures, so that's now getting into
Mm.
human scale, meaning human nature, starting with the centering the approach to design and the business from the human, right? So
Yeah.
and that's like I left industrial design, went to the branding, really understood how that really operates, what it really is, um, and get back straight to the beginning of like a human scale, the human in the center,
Yeah. The human is the center,
the human
right?
in the center of beginning of any consideration, really.
Because it was interesting when you were starting off by talking about cars. I mean, basically, when you think about the design of cars, I think a lot of people would assume, well, it's a box that needs to take you from point A to point B, right? And it's of course it has to have an engine, and I guess the person has to have a place to sit. But like you said, that's focusing on the products, right? If you focused on the product, it would just be improving the engine, improving the tires, right? But when you look at it from a human side, from the human scale, that's quite a different beast. You have to think about their emotions, about their behaviors, about, what is it that they're doing, the journey that they take with this objects. So how did you prepare yourself to, I guess, what do you do basically to focus off of the product and onto the person?
So that I mean it's super wide open question, and I really really love that you're asking me these. And I spend quite a bit of time thinking about these.
Yeah.
So we are taking I'm going to answer this in a framework of the traditional branding, how we relate to the product brands, I guess to the cars that we're driving, because all drives do take us from A to B. That is kind of basic purpose of it.
Hmm.
So what is how that all relate back to the like what the way going back to the our origins is that we are considering traditional branding in generally speaking really really very much focus on the business, right? And any brands really like looking at perspective and structures of the business, like a business value proposition, then you have brand value proposition. And that's like a very traditional. And most of us brand experts, they're really talking about that. Very
Hmm.
much so. But there is another proposal that I'm working on and working with, and I really, really, really want to push this forward. And I see there is a really great place for that, and that is behavioral value proposition.
Okay. What is
So
that?
what is that, right? So if we, so that's exactly what I'm saying. We're taking quite a bit of things that we are working with for the granted. And that is a scale of, here's my hand, that is a scale of human scale, like starting with the centering approach based on a human scale. Well, human scale means many things. In this case, I'm talking about what are the behavioral value proposition? What is the new behaviors that we really want business to achieve?
Yeah.
That's very, very different value proposition to begin with,
Yeah.
right? What is a brand behavioral value proposition? Let's talk about that, right? What that
Okay.
could be, right? So, so that is a new nuance that I'm trying to bring
Mm.
and bake into the brands that I'm developing.
So earlier you were talking about, when you're first starting and you got the account to rebrand a well-known brand like AT&T. And
Yes.
so your approach back then, is it quite different than your approach would be now?
Mhm. Yeah. I don't even know where to start, how different those things are now and then. From like first of all, like an entire world changes so much. That was
Mm,
probably yeah, we're getting into almost 20 years since AT&T being first time rebranded after acquisition. I can't remember who's acquiring AT&T, but it was very blue. It was very much corporate. It's like
mm,
consumers were on the secondary. It's all corporations were running. Today, we're really seeing major shift in the brand trends, like how they relate to us and how they relate to ordinary people. But still, we want to more of to know what people think, what they really do. It's like, but nobody's. What I don't see in the branding is like as much as the behavioral science really kind of approaching it from like why people do what they do,
yeah,
and
yeah.
and I see that as my personal like opportunity for next level of my career. Bring behavioral science into the brain. Like, let's figure out why people do what they do, what they really want. There's like audience segmentation and things like that. How far that will take you, right? Till
Yeah.
start really understanding why people do what they do through the behavioral science and constructing the business model out of that.
Yeah. So, when you think about what you learned when you were becoming an industrial designer, and then what you've become now as more of a behavioral designer, right? Um, what are the new skill sets that you think you needed to go from, what was maybe textbook for industrial design? What are the skill sets that you think are necessary to really sort of change that way of doing things?
Well, honestly, it takes quite a bit of work and curiosity, incredible curiosity that I found in myself. Literature, behavioral science. I guess I get a little bit obsessed. I have that.
I love
Guess
that.
have a little bit of that, right? That
Yeah.
obsession and a little bit, super hyper focused. First,
Mm,
I started with industrial design, being super focused. When I was like a nine, I was designing my own cars. And then you get to the school and then you start focusing on something else, a history of art and constructing, whatever it was, like a winning design awards. I don't know. It's like you're getting into the branding itself, in the principles of identity and visual systems and things like that. So obsession was again one that really got me into the behavioral science. And more you really know about behavioral science, more you start wondering, and more you have that personal uh, self-taught, if you will, perspective on behavioral science. As soon as you have that, you have a new set of tools. Suddenly, you have a new set of tools, and you start comparing my branding expertise tool that I learned for decades, working with all these amazing global branding agency and great clients and everything else. Now you start comparing them and looking at those things together
mm,
and start realizing these things go together very well.
yeah, yeah.
And that's pretty much same thing, except perspective is a little bit different. I'm not sure I'm answering your question. I kind of keep
Yeah,
rambling.
no, I'm loving hearing this. That's why I'm like, let it go where it's going. I love it because I do love the obsession that you have. Obsession sounds almost kind of negative, but I actually think,
Yeah.
so when I talk about, because I am also obsessed, right? I am obsessed with like the work that I'm doing and, consumer behavioral neuroscience. And um, I don't know if I call it obsession or the fact that work is my hobby, right? I'm constantly wanting to learn about it. And it seems that you're a kindred spirit in this, that your work is your hobby. Like you constantly want to know things. Was there a certain moment, a certain book, a certain person, a certain thing that you saw that kind of triggered you with that aha moment that
Yeah.
this is something really neat. This is something I want to know more about.
So yeah, there was a person, but also there was a book.
Mm.
And I felt like I had at home, I had a book, Thinking Fast and Slow, and I
Ah.
started, of course, and started reading, and it's like "Huh, listen, these ideas are totally applicable in what
Mm.
I do." And I kind of park all that, start thinking about that, and then I was hired as a consultant to rebrand Beeworks. It's like one thing leading to another. And I was working in Beeworks and I started figuring out
Ah.
who are these people, these guy, whatever, Dana Ariely, whatever his name is, like who are
Yeah.
these people? I start really figuring out bit by bit who they are. It's like really getting into it and start really try to structure it. I won't lie to you. I just like I think I took a little bit longer path to
Mm.
my how should I say, consciousness toward behavioral science. I took part more of the academic part, so I went all the way down. I start educating myself, taking
Mm.
courses, so reading literature. Maybe I shouldn't be reading. Went very, very deep and far, and then suddenly I realized I just really don't. I can't find the handles on how to really apply this with all my knowledge
Yeah.
of the, branding. So it took me quite a while to actually pull back and understand there's scientific part to behavioral science, but also there's applicable part to it.
Yeah.
So as soon as I start realizing that, it became really obvious where I'm going with these.
Mm. Interesting. Yeah, I noticed when you look at some of the academic programs, it doesn't clearly relate on how you're going to apply it in an industrial business sense. So, for my part, working in consumer research, it's not obvious how you're supposed to take behavioral frameworks. But I found a way to like adapt these things into what I do. Is that kind of your approach as well?
Well, the most common question is like a people up front. It's like no matter what level they are, like how do you apply it? It's like what button you press that
You're
it
right, you're
starts
right.
working. And so it's like first of all, I don't know really what you're looking for, but application, that is the most common question that I'm getting from everybody. You
Yeah,
practice this,
yeah.
how you do it? It's like
Right?
well, let me tell you, there's a silver bullet and sells everything. No, it's like a years of learning and understanding what
Yeah,
are we talking about. It's like just consider how massive is loss aversion itself.
yeah.
I always saying to my friends who are in branding, like just one of these biases, loss aversion is better, is bigger than entire branding. So it's like you have to
Mm,
digest that and really pull back and think, oh, that's loss aversion, that's loss aversion, that's loss aversion. So it's everywhere.
yeah.
So there's a two ways that I'm considering how the behavioral science is applicable. So there's one that's really I'm calling a holistic, which is really doing a research, and it's a really, really amazing way to get in, hook yourself up, and get digging deeper. So it's like a
Mm,
really holistic way of understanding, reading a book, literature, videos, whatever, and really inform yourself about things that they're really applicable, like the best scenarios, how that works, why people like free, why things like
mm,
that. Like, stories that been told about behavioral science without scientific depth. So that's one that's really, really powerful. And I think that's the first level, but also it could go very, very far. Um, Depends who are we talking to, right? And the second one is deeply scientific, which is really complex and is just looking at behavioral down in scientific level and digesting it and in slow motion experimentation, really figuring out why people do what they do in certain scenarios and reconstructing it and designing it toward the new behaviors, really. And
yeah.
then, of course, applying it inside of the whatever context is. In my context, it's a brand.
Yeah. So let's explore that a little bit. How do
Yeah.
you approach the challenge? And maybe it's with an example like AT&T, or maybe more recently, like with you know taking ADN into Bessie. How do you approach the challenge of creating a brand identity that's not only appealing to the current market, but also, you know, able to anticipate and adapt to future shifts in human behavior, right? And I think that that maybe applies most to the Bessie transition, because it is an effort to adapt to a changing consumer, right?
So the way I frame this, I frame this as a new, right? And I frame it further out and frame it as a new ambition.
Mm,
So let me unpack this a little bit. To me, the brand and being it is a commitment, really. I have a conversation with the ADN leaders, with few of them, and I realized there's a really ambition that is not fulfilled
mm,
um, at the beginning, and they really have more ambition, and that really includes you as well, right at the beginning, right? So we had that, and if you have agreement, like a verbal agreement, like you agree always, like these people are really serious, they really want to do this, and they
yeah.
really want to do more. There's ambition, and I really give everybody credit on the board. The people, it's just a tedious process of going through these, like a step by step, really figuring
Yeah.
out what it is. So that's the first. It is an ambition and
Mm,
commitment to that ambition to bring a new element and commit to the brand, because Bessie today is a brand led versus was like an institution. It was like a networking. Now it's a brand led.
mm,
And the reason why we decided to be brand led, because it's nothing else than it goes outside
mm,
and promote behavioral science. For all the behavioral scientists and communities, Bessie goes and promote behavioral science.
yeah.
So how did we brought behavioral science into the first of all, there's traditional branding process that works with a new behavioral process, which I was talking about, behavioral value proposition,
Yeah.
which is kind of future of this business anyways. Yeah, I mean, we're getting there. We're getting closer and closer to zooming into the, what people really want, why
Yeah.
people want what they don't want, why people do what they do, right? So what we have done with the Bessie, we get to the process, but it was, as I'm saying, it was really about commitment. And at the beginning, we knew there's that new ambition, and the new ambition was set up based on the behavior that we really want to achieve, that new behavior we're really going after, and that we want to reach out to those who are not behavioral scientists, reach out
Mm,
far and deep and really by doing that, by bringing behavioral science into people's lives, we're going to change the way they live, and they can do more with their lives.
yeah.
That was like a early on really set up. So here we go. That was a behavioral objective, behavioral ambition, however we want to frame it, right? In short, that's where we started, and everything else, so just came out of that identity and messaging, and all these images that you see right now is just like a go and get people in, pull them
Yeah.
in,
Yeah. It's
tell them how
exciting.
amazing this is.
So you're really thinking about how to sort of capture that energy. Um, and those who aren't familiar, maybe that might be listening. So if you go, onto LinkedIn, or, check out the website, you'll see that Bessie, formerly ADN, has been sort of putting out these interesting images, that are combinations of things that don't seem like they should be together, like a image, a shadow, a silhouette of a bird and a silhouette of a cow, and superimposing them on each other so that you have a cowbird, right? Or some other things about really like fitting things together, right? That create something new. What was your intention with that sort of play on words, play on imagery? What was the intention there?
So, but you answer it, right? That's new. The answer is new. You bring something that you already know, there's something new, and so you put them together. And it's like and you're looking at that thing. It's like exactly like you triggers your system too to
Mm,
start processing and learning what is this, right?
yeah.
Oh, you start wandering around. This guy really makes you start thinking, and those images are vibrant, and they kind of overlap. It's like it's very fascinating what you're looking at. It's like it's very misplaced inside of behavioral science
Mm,
community. It's like cowbird, and it's like those colors
Mhm.
screaming at you. It's like a
Yes.
all like saying, it's like a bring me in. It's like a it is attention that I really want to bring in. So people looking
Beautiful.
at this like saying, I have your attention now. Now I'm emotionally going to approach you and trying to get you to bring you in. Saying it's like a, this is cool, this is fun. I really want to be part of this. Oh my God, this is cowbird. This is butterfly. This is this. Now all this making sense. But
Yeah,
it's like nothing else. It's like a basic of psychology, right? You're having
right.
these things coming together and
Yeah,
it creates something
a
new.
gestalt. Yeah.
Right. So, and in the same way, from a branding perspective, it was really about, promoting a new color palette, bringing,
Hmm.
different kind of images that we usually be see in the behavioral science. There's a lot of brains in behavioral science community, which is,
You know
to,
what's particularly interesting about what you said in that explanation is that you said you wanted to trigger system two. And
yeah,
I love that. And the reason I personally love that is I live in the world of consumer neuroscience that has been fighting against neuromarketing, right? And the funny thing about neuromarketing is their big message is ignore system two. You
yeah,
should only be asking system one. You should only be talking to system one. And it's infuriating because no, the ultimate decision is system two. And so the fact that you start off saying, I want to appeal to system two and get system two going. I want people to think. There are books out there that say, the title of it is Don't Make Me Think, right? And here you are like, no, 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 wait a second. We want people to think. We want to trigger them in a way that's going to make them think more about this brand, really, really stop, right?
right.
I love that.
So, I'm just going to say something really funny. That there's a color. There's well, I think it's funny. The colors of the primary color of the Bessie is really pink, right? The second color is that deep blue color, and they're
Mhm.
really there's scientific, but also there's a branding aspect to it. I will walk you through these very quickly, briefly. But the story about the pink is pinks makes you think,
Ah.
and and the blue makes you do, right? So
Oh.
and that was like the how the thinking behind it is just really fun. Let's do
Yeah.
this. And that's exactly what it is. And the type that is on the 90 degrees is not easy to read.
Mm.
And you know that. It's like a stereotype of behavioral science. It's like a hard to read type, right? I want you to turn your head and start thinking, oh, what
Yeah.
does it see? Like, what kind of name is that? What is this?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a cow. It's a cow's name. All these different provoking things that coming up
Yeah.
and just building up inside of you. It's almost like abstract painting of what it means.
Mm.
Whatever means to you, that's what it is. That's what Bessie is. And
Yeah.
that's how we're going to get behavioral science into the scale, into the verticals and horizontals. That's how we're going to bring behavioral science into people's life, right? It's easy, it's fun. Look, it's pink and it does this, it does that. And really does make you think. As soon as you get in, it really, really challenges you,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I totally agree with you about System One. It's a propaganda. System
Yeah.
One is propaganda. I mean, it's like even there is a great reasons why we have System One, why it exists in our mind. But using it for marketing purposes, I will question that. So I agree with you.
Yeah. I love that. That's why I enjoy talking to you. We agree.
So
Okay, I have loved this conversation, but we're coming up on time, and so I feel like we can probably have more conversations in the future, I think, maybe on other subjects. But to sort of wrap things up, I want to introduce our game where
okay,
I am going to, speaking of system one, we are going to do a free association game where the first thing I'm going to say a word, and the first thing that comes to your mind, you're just going to say. So if I were to say blue, you could say do, or you could say, you know, anything, literally anything. You say the number three. That's totally fine. There's no wrong answers.
okay,
Are you ready?
ready.
Okay. So I'm going to start it off. And typography,
Uh, Rigor,
minimalism,
Discipline.
Storytelling.
Captivating.
Authenticity.
Hard.
Color psychology. Color psychology.
Oh, that's fun. Just pure.
Logo.
Signal.
Consistency.
Oh my God, boring.
I love it. User-centric.
Uh, um, Design.
Visual identity.
Brand.
Experience design.
Oh no. System one.
That was the last one. Thank you so much. I thought your answers were great. I've really enjoyed this conversation, and I hope we can have more maybe on the podcast, but definitely, in our real lives as we go back to working together with
Yes.
Betsy, but also just interacting as friends. And I always enjoy speaking to you. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
And thank you everybody for listening, and stay tuned for our next episode. And thank you for joining us today. Have a great day. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.